So today I wanted to just reiterate some of the points that we made last time we met. And the title of this kind of discussion, very brief, is Why Philosophize? This title's not my own. It was the title for a course that I taught years ago up in northern Maine, a wonderful university. And, it has a kind of invitational quality to it. Why philosophize? What's in it for me kind of thing. So there is obviously a practical element to philosophy, and that will help you. It has, as we like to say sometimes, a certain cash value. We like cash value. So what is that? Well, logic is one of the areas of philosophy, and it can help us in so many areas in life. Nobody wants to have regrets. Good, clear reasoning, logical reasoning can help us avoid those kind of pitfalls. There are times in life where we can sort of go by, an autopilot, but there are times in life where we have to kind of really, as Emeril Lagasse would say, kick it up a notch and really do some first quality thinking, and logic will enable us to do that. It's also practical in the sense that those of you who might be pursuing, law careers or medical careers, most of the entrance exams have a logical reasoning component, so there's a practical element in that area as well. The other practical advantage to studying philosophy is that it trains us to think about the ground of issues. What are the fundamental axioms about which, something is the case, right? So people oftentimes will agree rhetorically about an issue like equality, right? But if we change the terms of the discussion and we start discussing equality of results, then of course all kinds of disagreements arise, right? So, and those are philosophical disagreements, and we can talk about, well, instead of having a discussion about platitudes regarding equality, let's have a more substantial discussion about what that actually means. The other area of practical benefit to the study of philosophy is language. Philosophy, in its logical form, in some instances can be reduced to a form of language. There's a long history of quantitative logic that encodes language into abstract symbols. And philosophy, in its study of language, has great economy, so we can kind of put away all the dross and zero in on what's actually being said. But there are deeper values to philosophy. And I think the best way to describe that is a conversation I had with one of my professors years and years ago, so many years ago actually. And he said to me, I asked him why he studied philosophy, and he said, well, I became interested in issues right where political scientists left off, right where psychologists left off. And, there's a lot in that, actually, because that is the wool and woof, as we say, of philosophy. Let me give you, an example of that. One of the interesting philosophers of in the political field is Jean-Jacques Rousseau, and quite a remarkable fellow. And Rousseau wanted to study the origins of inequality. This was a debate in philosophy, the terms of which were said by another philosopher, Thomas Hobbes, and actually this goes way back into antiquity, and Aristotle certainly spent some time talking about inequality. So Rousseau said, look, I think I can say and answer the question of why there is inequality. And he set out to write his response to kind of a static account of inequality. People are unequal because some people are good and some people are not so good. And Rousseau said, no, no. Actually, I need to make a distinction, he argues in the social contract, between what's called natural inequality. Look, I'm never going to be playing for the NBA. I'm not, I'm not that tall, so, I have those kind of limitations. But there's another kind of inequality, and that's social inequality, access to resources and what have you. And therein, Rousseau argues, is the source of what we consider to be inequality. And the inability to really make that distinction creates a lot of ideology, a lot of blaming, a lot of faulty reasoning, and so and a lot of just plain bad philosophy. Another example that I, kind of introduced to show the value of philosophy and what it has to offer us, comes out of Plato, and we'll talk about Plato a lot. Plato wanted us to think not so much in terms of our physical senses, our physical eyes, which can be so deceptive, right? We know that eyewitness testimony is notoriously unreliable. But Plato said, look, we have this inner eye, the inner eye of reason, that allows us to see the essence of things, the really real, as he said. And he used the example, so many examples, but one of the most accessible is math, right? I can talk about number, but I can only really appreciate number and what it has to offer me if I can think abstractly, right? I see lots of things that are three and groups of threes, and I can use that language to describe things. But there is no actual number three, right? If I said to the number three, would you please step over here? No, there's no actual number three, or if there is, it has a different kind of quality. It's a quality that's only accessible via abstract reasoning. The other philosopher that I would cite as an example, who's kind of put us on a fast track to thinking about this more intrinsic value to philosophy, is Immanuel Kant. Kant wrote big, huge tomes and, lots and lots of things. But one of his most important contributions, one which was a part of philosophy earlier, coming out of St. Thomas Aquinas, and then earlier prior to him, the philosopher Boethius, is the idea that existence is not a predicate. Now that sounds awfully abstract. But what does he mean by that? Well, let's suppose you asked me to write a letter of recommendation. I could write all the wonderful things about you. You're a great essayist. You write, your work is always on time and very diligent, and all the things that, a graduate school or a law school would want. But I'm never, ever, ever going to be able to capture or encode your existence. As they say in Maine, you can't get there from here, right? Existence is not a predicate. And I can only see that if I think with the eye of reason, if I inquire into the deeper things of life. So that's kind of the intrinsic or the deeper value of philosophy. It's an invitation to think deeply about reality, all aspects of reality, because the special subject of philosophy is reality as such. Not that it doesn't have these other branches, as I said, logic, language analysis. So I'm going to stop there, and I hope you enjoyed this little vignette as an intro to why philosophize.